to get everybody's attention, and what we can hope in the end is nothing more than, frankly, a reset for everybody to get their things organized and prepared for the eventuality of something bigger than this down the road. James Gomez with the city of La Habra.
Michael, let me put you put me on hold here real quick. I might have the area where that water main break is. I have the Public Works Director on the other line if you want to just...
I'll have you on hold with our assignment desk, and you can relay the information, and then I'll put it on the air. James Gomez with the city of La Habra. Thank you. We want to turn our attention to downtown Los Angeles now. Mary Beth McDade, who, as we know from our 6 o'clock broadcast, was down there to cover an event, was sidetracked by a breaking news story, and again here tonight, Mary Beth, for something that everybody's talking about. You clearly felt it sitting in the live truck, I know, downtown preparing your story for tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike, it's really been just a crazy day trying to cover this story about this critical mass ride. As you mentioned, we were in Koreatown, and all of a sudden a bus with a suspicious package pulls up, and we had to evacuate that area. Now we're over here at Olvera Street, where the ride is supposed to end up, and we're in the news van, and we're editing our story when all of a sudden it really starts shaking back and forth, back and forth. My photographer, Matt, and I looked at one another, and we thought maybe someone was joking around and jumping on the back of the truck, because it just kept going for quite some time. So Matt got out of the truck, he walked around it, he didn't see anyone, and he said to me, Mary Beth, not only is no one jumping on the back of it, but no one's anywhere near the truck. So he said, must have been an earthquake. And then all of a sudden, both our phones started going off with friends, family, loved ones saying, oh, did you feel the earthquake? And we realized, indeed, it was an earthquake. So then we got out of the truck, we walked over here, and we talked to some of the other people waiting here at Olvera Street for the critical mass ride to find out, what did they feel and see?
We were standing here, and we were looking at each other, and it looked like everything was sort of moving back and forth like this. It was very slight, but it lasted for quite a while. I saw this just flags moving over there. I just was standing doing the candle thing. We're just all caught up, and the flags over there started moving.
Yeah, it really did go on for quite a while. It was pretty surprising. I'm one of those people who usually doesn't feel them, but with this one, it just went on for so long. There was no doubt that there was an earthquake going on. Micah, that's going to do it for us here at Olvera Street. We'll send it back to you in the studio. All
right, Mary Beth, thank you. We often hear about the potential for earthquakes being a foreshock to something larger, and that indeed was the case tonight. We had that 3.6 earthquake at 8:03. Essentially a 5% chance of something larger, and indeed that happened with the 5.1 very near La Habra about an hour later at 9:09. Chip Yost is live for us in Fullerton, where we understand there has been a good deal of damage. Chip, what's happening where you are?
It sounds like what we're hearing from both police and fire department personnel we've talked to is that there's been a number of water main breaks. Of course, we saw Tim Lynn a little earlier. He's actually above where we're at. This is kind of the ground level shot. This is near Rosecrans and Gilbert. I'm going to show you something here. I want to push in and show you what's going on with the road here. You're going to see the water actually bubbling out. It's actually cracking the road. So give me a moment here, and we'll push in and try to show you what I'm talking about. But you see the officers down there, they got this road completely blocked off right now. But here, if we go in here, if you see, you can actually see the water bubbling out of the road now. There's cracks like that all over the place throughout this area. So they've got this road here shut off. I talked to a police officer and a fire department or a firefighter a little while ago. They said they have a number of these water main breaks around town. I don't know if any are as bad as this. Right now, as we come out, you see some fire department folks pulling up over there. I'm going to bring in some residents who live here. I've been chit-chatting with them as we've been sitting here watching this play out. Yes, folks, come on over if you don't mind. We'll get you in here. Y'all, come on over here. These folks just live around the corner where this was happening. You can scoot in a bit over here. Just kind of tell us, where were you when this happened? What did you feel? Yeah, let me go down a little bit for you there. There you go.
At home, we were watching the news.
What did it feel like? Here, did things shake? Anything fall off the shelves?
Yeah, we have a lot of glass in our home. There's glass everywhere.
Oh, it broke? Was it scary for you?
Our family pictures, the frames. My mom has a whole shelf of glass that's all broken now.
And what were you doing when this happened?
Trying to get home.
Oh, you were in the car?
Yeah, they called me after the first jolt. It was pretty big. I was actually in La Habra, and I made my way towards Fullerton and saw this big lake in the road in front of my house.
And were you at home when this happened?
I was playing a game with my friend, and then the speakers and the TV and everything fell.
And we've been hearing a lot of that around here. I was actually driving in Anaheim on the street, and we felt it in the car as we were driving. But that's it from here. Probably getting similar stories all around Orange County. We'll send it back.
At 9:09. We've heard so much on social media over the last hour or so, commentary from people hearing this, feeling that, experiencing the other. We want to get a voice of authority on all things earthquake in Southern California with Dr. Kate Hutton from Caltech, and my colleague Carolyn Costello is live there now with the interview. Carolyn.
Yeah, Mike, we were just upstairs. There's a number of seismologists in a room. They're taking in all the data. We'll get right to Dr. Hutton. Dr. Hutton, tell us, you guys are taking in all the measurements now. A lot of the information still coming in. What do we know so far about the number of quakes we've had this evening, foreshocks, aftershocks?
Well, we know the largest one was 5.1, and there was one foreshock, at least. That was a 3.6. And there have been about 20 total in the sequence. And we're analyzing the data. We have data coming in from 400 sites in California that we monitor. And over the next few days, we'll have it all processed, and we'll,
So a total of 20 quakes so far, 4 of them over a 3.0, but 20 quakes in what? How long a span of time?
Well, the first one was a little bit after 8 o'clock. So between 8 o'clock and now, there have been a little over around 20. I mean, I've been down here for a while, so there may be more since I came down the stairs.
Is that unusual? Does that signify anything? What can people make out of the fact that there have been 20 in such a short period of time?
Well, it's actually pretty expected for a magnitude 5.1 earthquake. You might have a foreshock, you might not. You might have a couple of foreshocks. In this case, there was one. And there should be aftershocks after the earthquake. It's really a continuation of the strain release in the earthquake to have a series of small quakes afterwards. And they will become less frequent with time.
At what point can you be certain that the 5.1 isn't a foreshock?
Well, there's always a small chance, about 1 in 20, but it's down to 1 in 100 after the first 24 hours. So, and then it goes down more after that. So, and that could be, it could be a foreshock in those statistics to a 5.2. I mean, as long as it's bigger than the 5.1, then that makes the 5.1 a foreshock. It's sort of a matter of definition.
Okay, so, but as time passes, people can feel more confident that a bigger one isn't imminent or on its way.
Yeah, right. A few days.
Okay. And let's talk about the depth of the big one, the 5.1. It was pretty shallow, and talk about what that means, how people right above it, how intensely they feel it compared to others further away.
Okay, well, that's we're still analyzing the data, so we're not sure what the final number is, but it appears to be even about 1 mile below the surface. And that means that the people sitting right on top of it feel it stronger, but it isn't felt as far away. But it still was strong enough that it was felt pretty widely. I felt it pretty good here in Pasadena. So it was felt pretty much throughout the populated part of Southern California.
Talk about the warning system, and sort of, I think you said there was a bit of a pleasant surprise with the warning that you guys got.
Well, we are testing an earthquake early warning system that, where the computers analyze that the quake is happening already and sends a signal before we get the waves here. And we got 4 seconds warning on this one. And that means the system was running a little faster than we had expected it to be, so that's good. It gave us a few extra seconds.
Because you said it's in an area where you didn't expect to get a warning. Why did you not expect one in that area?
Because by the time the computer would get everything processed, the waves would be here already. So if it was running faster than we had estimated, then we got a few seconds warning.
What's the goal? How much of a warning is enough to actually let people help themselves?
Well, the amount of warning depends on where the quake is, though. So, if you're right on top of it, like people in San Fernando for the Northridge earthquake never would have got any benefit from an early warning system because they would have felt the waves the same time the computers detected them. But if the quake is far outside the area and coming toward us, like the shakeout scenario that we practice every October, we would get 45 seconds or more of a warning, and that's enough to really do some good. Get kids under the desk, slow down trains. You can think of all kinds of hazardous material operations, and things that could be put in a safe mode during that time.
I've heard a few people who've lived in California a lot longer than I have say that this is the biggest one that they have felt in a long time, or that they don't remember the last one that was over a 5. Can you comment on that at all?
Well, that depends on where you're talking about. There was a 7.2 or 7.1 down by the Mexican border that went into California in 2010. And to me, that one felt pretty strong also, although it was, a rolling motion.
That was the Mexicali collective?
Mexicali area. But as far as the urban part of LA and Orange County, I think that's true. It's been quite a while since we've had it, maybe since the 5.4 Chino Hills earthquake, and I can't remember the year.
And does this mean people get scared, they get nervous? Does this mean, is this a foreshadowing that there's more activity happening, beneath the surface of the earth, that the big one, so to speak, is more likely to happen? How should people interpret?
Well, I think that if you average month to month, I think it's about the same as it always is. There's some few uneven spots here and there, it goes up and it goes down, but the average is pretty much the same. And I think what people need to take it as a reminder to get their supplies and their plan and everything in order, because we never know when the big one's going to happen. And this is not telling us anything about that.
It isn't. It definitely is not telling us anything about that. Yeah. I think that's important because, just anecdotally for myself, I feel like we've had a lot of earthquakes lately. I just, once a week I feel like we're having one, and then I start to think, does this mean, that a big one's coming? But it's what you're saying is that that's not the case. This is just a good reminder for all of us.
It's a good reminder. It's a reminder we live in earthquake country and we need to be ready.
What are you going to be looking at specifically studying over the course of the next few hours? What has your interest as a seismologist the most?
Well, we need to get all the earthquakes, including the small ones, located exactly and see if that tells us anything about what fault it's on. It's not on an obvious fault. But there may be an unobvious one we can put it to.
Okay. And what do you learn from that if you know what fault line it's on?
It teaches us something about what's going on in the tectonics in California.
I mean, with all the studying that you do, there are still so many things that you just can't predict.
Yeah, well, compare it to the weather forecast, right, which isn't right all the time, okay? We can't even see what's going on down there, whereas satellites and, measurements from the surface can tell us, we can see what's going on with the weather, and we can't see what's going on down there, so it's a harder problem.
Anything you will be able to predict once you analyze all the information about this sort of wave of earthquakes?
Well, we have been trying for 50 years to predict earthquakes, and we haven't come up with a reliable system yet, so I would say no. Not unless there's some kind of breakthrough, and I don't see what that would be.
And you've been studying quakes for 35 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow, okay. So the best thing to come out of this really is to get us all paying attention and be prepared.
Yeah, right.
All right, so you'll have another update for us in probably another 45 minutes or so, right?
Yeah, I think we were doing a 10 o'clock and an 11 o'clock briefing, so I better go back up and see what's happened while I was down here.
Okay, Dr. Kate Hutton, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming down and speaking with us. Actually, our anchor back at the station does have a quick question he'd like for me to ask you, if you could hold on for another moment. What's that, Mike?
Yeah, Carolyn, it's just involving the Whittier quake of 1987. Certainly the doctor remembers that earthquake, and from what I'm gathering, this was not on the Whittier fault, but if she can talk about the relation between, or the proximity of that fault, which so many people remember as a significant 5.9, and what's happened here tonight.
Okay, so Micah's asking about the Whittier quake back in, what was the year, Micah, that the quake hit?
87.
1987. He said that this was not on the same fault line that quake was on, but it was a pretty big one, 5.9. A lot of people remember it. Yeah, can you talk about the relationship and the distance between?
It's not the same location exactly, and it may not be the same fault. So I don't. And also the time difference. I don't think one can make any case that the Whittier Narrows earthquake triggered this one. It's too far in time.